Hey everyone, it's Mr. Thacker. Today we'll be looking at kind of culminating our lessons on pictorial sketching in one final sketch that we will use to sketch both an isometric, oblique, and perspective. Okay, so in this particular sketch, our goal is to create the same object in all three pictorial sketches. That way you can distinguish the difference between them very easily all on one sheet. Okay, so your assignment will be to create problem 4, which will be pretty simple. I'm going to demonstrate problem 12 just so you have a visual of what it should look like. Now, I'm not going to walk through the entire problem with you in this video exercise. However, I'll show you the setup so that you understand what you're supposed to do and how it's supposed to be laid out. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to create problem 12, and again, I'm not going to work it all the way out for you in this particular video. I may have a subsequent video regarding this particular example, but for now, just give you the basics. All right, so obviously we need to know the dimensions of the object. So width, height, and depth, and it may be the same as in the past. So I'm going to just take the width right across the center line here and go to the center point, and I see 3 more, 2 and 2 more, so that's a total of 10. Height is 6 and depth is 4, so it's all the same as we've done in the past. So I'm going to start out with the isometric. So one of the things we want to do in these guidelines that you're provided with is just to put in my case, I-12. In your case, it would be I-4. Okay, in the next one, we'll want to say whether we're doing cavalier or cabinet. Okay, now I prefer cabinet, so that's the way I'm going to go. I'm going to go cabinet O12. Okay, O for oblique. And then last but not least, P12. Now we've got to decide about the number of blocks. Remember, with perspective, we just kind of state, hey, we're going back this far. So I'm going to go back 2 blocks on this, and I would say you guys probably should as well go about 2 blocks, and I think that will make the problem work out well. All right, so let's go ahead and set up our axes. So going to the isometric, and I'm going to zoom in on that one, and then we'll move into the other examples. So for the isometric, just going to create the x-axis out to the left at 30 degrees, the y-axis, which is vertical, the z, which is 30 degrees to the right. Okay, and then just count my dimensions. So it's 10, so that's 5, 3 more right there. Okay, is my width, and then 6 for my height. Okay, and then 4 for my depth. And so I can go ahead and box that up. Okay. Got my front boxed up, getting my right side boxed up here. And then my top, remember, all these lines will be parallel to your isometric axes, known as isometric lines. Okay, so there it is boxed up, and then from there I would start creating my various shapes. And you know, on the front I've got a circle, so I would start establishing that shape, and it goes back in depth. Okay, so I'm not going to go much further than that, except for to maybe work out a little bit of the shape here on this part. So in looking at this part, you can see that it's 2 deep from the back and 3 deep in this portion. So I can certainly work that out, come up 3 blocks, draw a line there, and then it's 2 blocks wide. All right, and you can kind of see how that begins to work out in terms of shape. And I don't know how far this line actually would go all the way over to here, because that's where it's going to be tangent to the cylinder. All right, I'm going to kind of pause there, let you guys work it out. From there, I don't want to confuse you because you guys are doing problem number 4. All right, so let's move on to the oblique. So with the oblique problem, again, lay out your axes. X, horizontal to the left, Y, vertical, and Z at a 45-degree angle to the right. Okay, now again, count off your blocks. So we're talking 10 here for the width, 6 for the height, and since I'm doing a cabinet, remember, it's just 2 for the depth. Okay, so that's going to make things interesting when I go in, especially for problem number 12, when I go in to create this problem the rest of the way. But what I want to do is go ahead and box this problem, okay, and project the edges back at 45-degree angle. Bring this edge up where it meets the top edge. This back edge meets the top edge. I can bring it straight over, and right there's my box. And then as I know, I've got this 6-inch diameter circle, so I could start working that shape out within my blocks. The part that I was working on with the isometric over here, a little odd in this spot. It kind of, that line right here falls in the half block. Okay, it's 3.5 blocks, so got to kind of pay attention to that situation. And then it's 2 blocks wide, so I know that 2 blocks wide, if we count from the front, will be here, so it's going to go halfway. So I'm going to have to, oops, not go all the way down. Okay, so it goes over to that point right there, and then I go back half block, and then I can go over to where I am halfway into that square. So anyway, without going too far into this one either, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the perspective. So you can kind of see I've drawn the same thing in isometric, or in oblique, as I did in isometric, and I'll kind of do that down here for the perspective. So let's move on to the perspective. Okay, just kind of showing you the basic layout, right? For the perspective, again, X horizontal to the left, Y vertical, and Z, remember, Z goes to the vanishing point. So, you know, this is your VP up here, your vanishing point. And so what we want to do is to set that up. Okay, so again, count your dimensions along your axes, and right there's 10, and then go up 6, and from there, from that point, I could go ahead and do my depth, which I'm saying is 2 blocks, so that would take it to right there. Kind of crosses the grid at a nice spot. We'll see if that continues to be the case. And then we can go ahead and box this front. Remember, you want to take all your corners back to the vanishing point, okay? And so that you've got your box. So remember, you don't have to draw them all the way back. Just draw them a little ways back. Got a storm going on outside. Right, like this. And then just take your line up to it. Man, this is falling very nicely on the grid. That's unusual. Okay. And then right here again, you know, if you count your radius or your diameter, you've got your circle right here, radius of 3. And I kind of didn't quite do it this way before, but box that circle, and you can see where that circle would be in this example, and you could lay out your subdivisions to get your 45s in order to create your circle, transferring that on your diagonals, which would be, you know, approximately right in there. And then you can line up those points and create, I'll just spin that around. create your circles. And there you are. Okay, there's the front of the cylinder on this example. The challenge is to go in and create the rest of the shape. And you can certainly bring this point back to the vanishing point. It gets a little bit challenging. It's maybe not that point at all, but you do need to bring that back. Okay, which makes creating this shape fairly difficult. I would also bring the top point back. Okay, because it curves off right here. We just can't tell to what degree, and then comes around. The back edge, again, it's a matter of getting your depth over here. So we know that this is, our depth is either one block back from, let me just look at the sheet with you guys. So right here, the depth, or this feature is 3/4 the entire depth. So what I've done is just applied 3/4 coming forward, and you can see that shape right there. Okay, and so I'll bring those lines over, and those would come over 2 blocks. So I need to do that on the front to get the actual layout. So I'm going to project that back. This one's definitely harder to do, much harder than what you guys are working with, fortunately, right? So there it is, and we know again from this view here, it comes down, and we actually, there's that shape on that front edge. And then somewhere back here, it seems to be lining up nicely with the grid. We come over to that point right there, and we would have another circle, and so forth. Okay, so this line would be coming this way toward where we would have a cylinder showing that shape. So let me go ahead and bring that bottom edge back so you guys can see the creation of this. This one's a pretty tedious, pretty hard example. So this would come over and meet that circle here, and then what we would have to do is a circle halfway through. We can move our points back a little bit. Okay, it seems to be like that's a little more than a grid, so very difficult to move those points back on the curve, because we really need to line it up with the vanishing point. Right, so I'm going to line this one up with the vanishing point as well. Probably more than you guys need to know. And let me see. There's not a lot of consistency here, so if this point goes back a full block, then this point would go back a full block, so it would end up being right in here. This one goes back a full block, so right here, and back a full block. So we're looking at, let's see if I can do this right. Okay, and so a little bit of mess up there. Right, as I've created that particular object, but you can see that kind of wind on around, and then there we would show the rest of it back there curving around, and there's the object. Okay, so to finish that out, certainly we've got this square that is drawn through here. This would be our detail. And then we could go in and darken that, and it would be complete. Okay, so just to kind of give you a greater perspective on that, that's the layout of problem number 12, just as an example for you for problem number 4. So hopefully that helps you notice the differences between them. I didn't complete them, but you can kind of see how it should be laid out. Darken those up, render one, and turn it in. I hope you guys do well. Thank you, and take care.